Hi, this is Luke Stiles. I'm the VP of Engineering at Talon.io. We work on Urbit, building out the core platform as well as applications for it. Please check us out at Talon.io and Urbit.org. I'd like to talk to you today about the stages of becoming an Urbit developer. Stage one is you take a look, you check out Urbit, and you say, this is nonsense. You dig a little deeper and you might get to stage two. You might say, I want to work on this anyway. Maybe you reach out to us at Talon and see if there's a job. There are also grants that the Urbit Foundation organizes where you can contribute code there. Or maybe you just dive in and you find a way to submit a PR to our repository, which is on GitHub, just under the Urbit organization. And so now you're doing this. You say, I'm going to put on this Urbit uniform of nonsense. So you wade in to try to do X and warp your brain till you can speak some of this nonsense. And usually you'll get it done. And often this is enough just to get you over to level 4. Sometimes it takes a little more time, but the transition from level 3 to level 4 is really about doing. So now, if you're at level 4, you're going to say, the parts of Urbit I've worked on are not nonsense. You've worked on different pieces of it before, and you'll hack on those parts. You'll be extremely careful not to change the interfaces to any other part of the system, saying you're not sure what'll break, and these changes should be made one at a time. This is the constraint before you're a full-fledged Urbit developer. And you're saying, I'd rather work on this because it sounds like possibly significant changes to these other parts of the system that I don't understand could just break everything. And this is exactly what our current CTO did on the path to becoming the CTO with Clay, the Urbit file system. Years ago, he worked hard and improved the internals a lot, but he didn't dare change the interface or the way anybody else used it. So the result was a small step up. But in those 3 months he spent rewriting it, it could have been made part of a system that people wanted to use and to improve. One symptom of this is that he gave all the internal variables long names, but the public interface maintains 4-letter Japanese nonsense. This is an Urbitism that I encourage you to dig into. There are other examples of this phenomenon as well. Along the way, he implemented an entire end-to-end ACK system in AIMS, the networking system, and Gall, the application manager, but didn't port these to other parts of Urbit or the veins using the old system because it just felt too scary. This resulted in 2 parallel actively used code paths for processing packets in AIMS. This was a big source of technical debt that was later retired. And so the big step is from 4 to 5, where you say, actually, none of this is nonsense. If you're at level 5, you'll start looking into implementing things in a certain area of the subsystem and realize that it's going to be miserably hard compared to just rewriting other parts of the entire system. Even if you haven't actively worked on that part of the system before, you're not afraid to do it, and you'll just do it. The end result is a core that supports not just the new feature, but the other adjacent components are improved and no additional technical debt is taken on. In fact, we probably paid some of it down. And because of this, it's incredibly important to level people up as fast as possible, in particular to make sure they don't get stuck at level 4. This jump from level 4 to level 5 is huge. It requires familiarity with a large portion of the system, which really is only gained by experience and spending that time at levels 3 and 4. It also requires a drastic mind shift from being a foot soldier running around completing tasks to someone with the authority and responsibility to improve the system. Often people really internalize that thing some dude on the internet said about nonsense and uniforms and decide they're going to put on the uniform of nonsense because they really want to fight in the army. So this mindset shift faces many obstacles. You might find that you don't believe in the nonsense. If so, level 4 is probably your ceiling, and that's okay. There's a lot of work to be done. Alternatively, you may have always been a foot soldier, and you may just be predisposed to this. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Work has to get done. Either way, you're going to grow as a human, and this can take time and requires intentional effort, or you're going to stay stuck at level 4. One way with Urbit this commonly happens is an experience vacuum opens up. That's when there's literally nobody else to do it. So you just figure it out. Sometimes this happens at Talon and in Urbit. Other times it happens elsewhere. For a CTO, it happened where at another job that he took after leaving Talon for a little bit before returning to take the CTO role. And he re-architected almost the entire back end because there was just nobody else that could do it. Another obstacle is they may interpret pushback on their suggestions to mean shut up and get back in line, soldier. Most people dislike confrontation, but you can't make changes that affect more than one part of the system without stepping on other people's toes. And that's why steel-toed shoes come standard issue at Talon. Management is generally quite happy when people step out like this, and it's not practical to continually affirm that you want somebody to bring up concerns, write long emails, etc. So we just engage on the facts and issue those shoes. Many of us are quite bad at divining others' opinions of us and are too humble, so we recommend explicitly asking whether your boss thinks you're being stubborn or something else. Progress can be undone by believing that a deadline must be hit, so they put on blinders to build stuff for the release. We do need to be able to release stuff, so this is a delicate balancing act, but that's the work. And I've heard there are higher levels that involve even more agency, but you also don't get clearance to know they exist until you're a solid 5. Now, this is about what happens at Talon and what happens with Urbit, but I also think it's applicable to really any other development process when you're building a large, innovative system. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the conference, and please feel free to reach out at any time to me directly.